Hello everyone and welcome to Island Technologies presentation where we'll be looking at user management in DrayTek routers and how it can improve network security by controlling access to both the local network as well as the internet. My name's Darren and I'm the Queensland sales rep at DrayTek Australia and New Zealand. The topics we'll look at are what is user management, the different modes available in DrayTek routers, configuration options, and finally we'll go over an example. If you have any questions during the video, please comment in the chat box on the right side of the screen and stick around at the end for a 5-minute Q&A session. Don't forget you can pause the video or skip back anytime if you'd like a longer look at anything or to hear it again. If you're watching this after the live premiere, please comment below or send an email to sales@draytek.com.au. So, what is user management and why is it used? User management is a feature available in dual and multi-WAN routers which controls access to both the local network as well as the internet. It allows the network administrator to manage internet access at the user level so that users have to be authenticated using a username and password before being granted internet access. The use of optional firewall rules and WAN access policies can be applied to control access. In the diagram shown here, we have users belonging to different groups, and access can be granted based on group membership. Also, through access policies, some users or devices can be set up so they don't need to be authenticated. For example, Amy's PC shown in the diagram is not controlled by user management. Here we have a list of DrayOS routers that support the user management features we'll cover today. As you can see, all the later model dual WAN and multi-WAN routers support user management. The Linux-based routers such as the Vigor 3900 and Vigor 2960 have a different feature set for user management, and we won't go over those today. As mentioned earlier, firewall policies can be used to grant different levels of access to internet sites based on the user. In the example shown here, staff have full access to the internet, but guest users are blocked from going to YouTube and Facebook. We can also apply a data and/or a time quota for each user and also set up a schedule to restrict access to certain time periods. Also, for some users, you can redirect them to a company landing page if required. Now that we have a basic understanding of what user management can do, let's have a deeper look, starting with the two user management modes that can be used. Here we have the general setup menu for user management showing the two modes we can use. The first is rule-based and the other is user-based. These use a different method to authenticate users. To understand how rule-based and user-based policy management work, we need to look at how firewall rules are used. The first type of firewall filter is an active rule. This is a filter rule that is enabled, and we can see here in the top red box that it is ticked to be active. Active rules have first priority for checking data packets for a match. The next type is an inactive rule. Here the firewall filter is configured but is not enabled. This can be used as a policy for a user account. The final type is the default rule. This is the firewall rule set up in the Firewall General Setup menu page. In rule-based mode, the default firewall rule is used when there are no active rule matches. In user-based mode, default rule won't be applied unless it is set as a policy for a user account. In rule-based mode, we manage LAN clients based on the LAN IP address. We also apply the firewall rules to the LAN IP address so that if there is a match, then the user with this IP address will need to authenticate. Here we have a flowchart of how rule-based mode works. First, the source IP address of the data packet is checked against the first active IP filter rule. If a match is found, the filter action is applied. If not, the next active rule is checked. If the IP address doesn't match any active rule, then the default firewall rule is checked. For filter action, if a match is found, there are 4 possible actions. Block immediately means the packet is dropped. Block if no further match means the rest of the active rules are checked in order until it matches one, then it applies the filter action of that matched filter rule. If there's no other active rule matched, then drop the packet. Pass immediately means pass and apply applications. Pass if no further match means it checks the rest of the active rules in order until a match is found. If there's no other active rule matched, pass and apply the filter action. For application, if the filter action is pass, user management can be applied. In rule-based mode, it is the IP range that determines which firewall rule will be applied and if authentication is required. So LAN clients can be placed into several groups based on their IP addresses and set different rules for each IP range. However, this method only works if users have static IP addresses. Where dynamic IP addresses are assigned, user-based mode is the solution. User-based mode works differently to rule-based mode. Here, LAN clients are managed based on user profiles. Firewall rules are checked against a user profile. We can also specify which IP addresses are not required to be authenticated. Here we have a flowchart of how user-based mode works. First, the source IP address of the data packet is checked against the first active IP filter rule. If a match is found, the filter action is applied. If not, the next step is user authentication. Then apply the policy for the user account. Then it follows the same procedure as for rule-based mode. We should note that if the policy is set for a specific IP address range, users will not be able to access the internet if their IP address does not match the policy, even if they log in with the correct username and password. To summarise this so far, DrayTek routers provide two different methods for user management. The first is rule-based, which is based on the LAN client's IP address, and user-based, which is based on the user login account. So which is better? For networks that manage LAN clients by their IP addresses, rule-based mode is the way to go. Just be aware that firewall rules may not be applied as expected if a LAN client connects using a different IP address, such as might happen if using DHCP to allocate IP addresses. But to get around that, you can use the bind IP to max setting to assign a static IP address for each LAN client. Alternatively, you can use rule-based to apply a LAN subnet to cover all LAN clients. For networks that do not use fixed IP addresses for LAN clients, user-based mode is recommended. This way, it is the user account that matters. However, LAN clients will need to log in every time they connect to the internet, and this may become a little inconvenient. Let's now check out the configuration options when setting up user management. First, we have the general setup page. Here we can select either rule-based or user-based modes. Also, the authentication page can be customized with the login page greeting, and you can select either HTTPS or HTTP for the clients to use. In addition, a customizable landing page can be set up. Here's what the default login and landing pages look like, and these can be customized to suit your needs. HTML is supported, including tags such as P, font, or IMG, so you can get it looking just right. Up to 200 user profiles can be created within the router. This includes the two default profiles, which are admin and dial-in user. If you need to authenticate more than 200 users, you can redirect authentication to an external server. When setting up a user profile, you'll need to specify a username and password. This is in the Common Settings section of the user profile. You also have the option to enable external authentication to an LDAP, Radius, or TAC ACS server. But the default setting here is none, which will use the local database set up in the router. The next menu item to configure is the login settings. Here you can select how to access the authentication, which can be either web, alert tool, or telnet. Web is the most common method to use here. You can also enable the landing page for this user profile, so they'll be redirected to a company web page after they log in. The placeholder there is to go to the DrayTek homepage, but that can be changed if required. The next setting is idle timeout. If there's no WAN traffic to the LAN client for the specified amount of time in minutes, the WAN session is reset and the user will need to re-authenticate before internet access is once again allowed. The default idle timeout value is 10 minutes. Next we have auto logout, which will end the session after a set period. Leaving it at 0 means that it is disabled. If you're using time quotas, you can enable the pop-up time tracking window here. That will show the user how much time they have left for the session. Logins can also be done according to a time schedule if required, such as limiting access to business hours only. The last item to configure for the user profile is the policy settings. Here you can set the maximum number of simultaneous login sessions if you want multiple people to share a common login account. The time and data quota for each session can also be specified. At the top here, there's a screenshot of the pop-up dialog box that users will see if you have the pop-up time tracking window enabled and you're using time quota. Note that this pop-up may be blocked if the user has a pop-up blocker enabled. The quotas can be reset automatically either when the current session ends or according to a time schedule. The user group option allows you to place users into a group to apply firewall policies to, rather than having to apply them to individual users one by one. The last menu item under User Management is User Online Status. This page displays the users currently logged into the network along with their IP addresses, and the list refreshes periodically to show the most up-to-date information. Other information displayed here is the login time, the expiry time, and the remaining data quota. A number of actions can be initiated by the administrator. You can click on block, which stops the user from accessing the internet. Unblock then appears, which resumes internet access of the blocked user. Selecting log out terminates the current login session, and clicking on delete removes that user entry from the user online status page. Now that we've looked at the configuration options that are available within user management in the router, we'll now go through a configuration example. The example we'll look at is how to set time and data quota for LAN clients using user-based mode. There's a link there to a knowledge base article on this topic, which I'll include in the description below. The first step is to enable user-based mode. To do this, go to User Management, General Setup, select User-based mode, then click OK to save. The next step is to select the next available profile. To do this, go to User Management, User Profile, and click on the next available profile, which in this example is number 3. Now we edit the profile. First, enable a profile by ticking on Enable this account. Enter a username and password. Select Enable Time Quota and enter the number of minutes in the box. We've gone with 3 minutes here so we can test. Then click on plus. You should see the time quota change. Keep in mind, if you keep clicking on plus, it will increase the time quota by the same amount you entered. Then click OK down the bottom to save the settings. If we have a look in the user online status page after the user has logged in, we can see the expiry time for this user, which in this case we set to 3 minutes, which is 3 minutes after the last login time. After the user runs out of the assigned quota, they will not have internet access and won't be able to log in with this account. If that's not ideal for that particular moment, you can click on the username and that will lead to a page where you can give the user more time immediately. The idle timeout setting can be used to pause the timer when the user connection is not active, such as when their connection drops out. In the example shown here, we've set it to 1 minute, so if after 1 minute there's no activity, the router will pause the countdown timer. To set up the idle timeout period, enter the time in minutes in the idle timeout box and click OK to save. To check that it's working, go to the user online status page and you should see the idle time is paused once the timeout period is reached. Setting up the data quota is similar to that for the time quota. The steps to use are select the user profile, then enable data quota. Enter the data quota in megabytes box and click on plus. You should see the data quota changes from 0 to the number you entered. Now click OK to save the settings. To check that the data quota is working, you can go to the user online status page and you should see the data quota remaining for the user. And once again, if you want to increase that amount at that time, you can click on the username to go to a page where you can give the user more data immediately. Once you've increased it to the amount that you want, just click OK for it to happen. Otherwise, once the user runs out of the assigned data quota, their internet access will be blocked and they won't be able to log into the network until the quota is reset. If both time and data quota are used simultaneously, then the router will stop providing internet access whichever one runs out first. In later firmware versions, there's an option to reset the time and data quota periodically or according to a time schedule. To do this, go to the Reset Quota Automatically box towards the bottom of the user profile page, then select Enable and set the default time and default data quotas. There's two options to choose from. One is when login permission schedule expired, which means the router will reset the quota when the login permission schedule expires. The other is at the start time of schedule, which means the router will reset the quota according to the schedule selected. More information on user management is available in the application notes shown here, which are available in our knowledge base. As always, I'll list these in the description below. Okay, so to summarise, today we looked at what user management is and the two modes that are available, which are rule-based and user-based. Then we looked at the configuration options and followed up with a configuration example. For more information about DrayTek products, please check out our website at www.draytek.com.au or send us an email to sales@draytek.com.au or give us a call on 02 9838 8899. Please like and subscribe below, and if you'd like a notification of new Premiere videos we're about to launch or anytime we put up a new video, please give the bell a click too. Thanks for joining in today's session. That's it for me for now, but please stay tuned. Our technical team will be answering questions in the live chat on the right of your screen for the next 5 minutes. Thanks and bye for now.